Hey, good morning, guys. I had to just keep my mic muted for a second because the cleaning lady is busy moving the furniture around again, but I am here. Can you hear me now, Phil? Yeah, I hate that sound when they move the furniture. So I opened the mic and the next moment it started and I just quickly killed it so as to not get it transmitted. I'm not sure where Uncle John went. He was with me and I spoke to Jorge and Uncle John left and I can't seem to raise him. I hope he's okay and that he'll come join us soon. Good morning, Mark. I'm going to try and teach you guys a little something today, which I had some training on during the week from nobody other than Twixter himself, which I am eternally grateful for, and I just want to mention his name. Thank you, sir. Thanks, Tim, for assisting me and teaching me as well and enabling me to help the guys on stream here and on Facebook. So I'm going to show you guys something that we figured out and he gave me some training on. We must just get the right aircraft going and in the right position now. Make sure all of this is off. Alright. So over the last few months, Zibo started porting his mod over to C++, and there's a multitude of reasons. One of the reasons he did that not many people are aware of is he's trying to bring more realism to the mod. He's trying to actually make a Boeing. And it might sound strange because you're going to say to me, oh, there are other Boeing simulators out there as well. Sure, but if you start and you put the two together, or the three, or how many ever there are, I know of at least two other 738 models. If you put them together, there are subtle differences. Now, it's not, I want to make it very clear from the beginning. It's not a question of right and wrong. There's no such thing as right and wrong in this discussion. It's all about systems that differ and that then gets implemented or it doesn't. Good morning, Crescendo. Sorry, I just saw your message there. So in the Zibo, and I am going to mention the PMDG name just now as well, so it's be warned, but please don't misconstrue anything I'm saying or make something out of it that it's not. In the Zibo, the FMC is now getting to a point where it's actually looking for restrictions. All right. And again, I'm not saying PMDG does not look for them, but I did some flight tests and I did compare the two to each other. And I can tell you one thing, the PMDG does not care for them. Even though it sees them, even though it might use them or not, I don't know how to explain it to you guys. You don't get the same results. In the Zibo, you now have a situation where you're not going to get your top of descent calculated as in the real world if you don't program the system properly, if you don't follow the rules, so to speak. And this is what the stream is about. So again, it's not about right and wrong. One developer implemented this, the other one simply did not implement this. It's not right and wrong. That's the way it is. And I hope you guys see it in that light. I'm not making light of any other developer or their product at all, and I'm not being facetious. So please see that in that light. In the routes that we fly, especially in Europe, we have a lot of restrictions. In America, I've seen a few, but it's not as many as you have in Europe, and in South Africa we don't actually have that many at all. So depending on where you fly and how you use the Zibo, you're either going to encounter the math working against you, or for you. And then it's going to be up to you to understand why it worked against you, because it's not a bug. A lot of guys have reported the bug, oh, I don't get my top of descent calculated anymore. It's not a question of a bug. It's a question of Zibo's gone one step further. He's implemented something that flight simmers are not used to. All right, and this is what we're going to talk about. So our flight today is from Porto to Lisbon. We're going to take off runway 35, and we are going to turn around, go down to Lisbon, and we are going to show you guys exactly what I mean. So it's no use just talking about it. We're going to actually show you, and then show you what to do about it and how to recognize it and how to handle it. So I hope it's going to have some value. And guys, please bombard me with questions. Interrupt me if you have to. Let's talk about this. This is supposed to be educational and nothing more than that. And I don't want anything less than that either. So let's make it a nice stream. Captain Birdseye. Let's see. Okay, you found that it works better if you type the waypoints in yourself instead of importing. Um, there's pretty much no difference between them. Let's see if I've still got those plans, and I can show you. Each one of the platforms, SimBrief, PFPX, and nowadays we also have Navigraph that's capable of exporting FMS plans, and then we've got the little nav map and a few others that all export FMS plans. They don't have much difference. They look different, but in what you actually get is more related to what you understand, what you get, and what you think you should get than an actual difference, because they're all going to put the waypoints in the same place. They're all going to put the necessary information to fly from point A to point B. But this is where the interesting thing now comes into. Again, there's no right and wrong. If you find a system that works for you, stick to it. Okay, we've had it with the Zibo mod where entering your own waypoints didn't work. There were a couple of versions where it just didn't work, and we advised the guys, please use the import facility. We have had one or two instances where the import facility didn't work, and we then said, no, but use the manual entry. One of the biggest risks that you undertake by inputting the waypoints manually, and I have done plenty of support on that, trust me, is you pick the wrong one. So you're flying in the northern hemisphere and you pick one that's in the southern hemisphere, and then you get not enough fuel, and then you flabbergasted. You just don't know which way to go, and you don't know how to fix it. So if you are able to discern that and handle that, and if that's the way you do it, that's your right way of doing it. For my streaming purposes, and obviously when I just I just import. I think if you go back to my streams, I think you might find one where I actually physically typed it in, or maybe two or three, but not more than that, because for me it's much of a muchness. No right or wrong there, Phil. So if you are happy with your way of doing things, enjoy it, my friend. As long as you fly from A to B and you enjoy that flight and you get your points for your VA or whatever the purpose was for that flight, then obviously you're doing something right. And good morning, Liam. I'm talking a lot here, but I did see your note there. Yep. Just be careful for it, Phil. It does happen. I have had many guys come up and say, oh, the Zibo's broken because we don't have enough fuel, and it's a flight we fly every day, and we've been doing it for 10 years, and now all of a sudden it's not working. Please fix the Zibo. And I go, let me see. And then we find out, oops, nope, doesn't work that way. You picked the wrong waypoint. So just be wary of it. Norsmeister. Goeiemôre. Hoop dit gaan goed met jou ook. Ja, gaan goed hierdie kant. Guys, I'm okay. Let me pull the rest of the gang into the room here. Good morning, Uncle John. Welcome to the stream. Goeiemôre, Johan.
Goeiemorgen.
I'm glad to see you guys are joining me here. I hope you have listened to some of what I've said. So, I'm going to quickly get my planning on the screen here and then we can talk further so I can give you the background. Guys, it might be a little bit long-winded today, but there's a reason for it. So, I hope you trust me and that you stick around and like I said, please ask your questions and let's make it as fun as possible while we are learning. So, where's my display capture? Let's get that on screen. Alright, so there we have our Navigraph charts. I've obviously pre-programmed this situation here. Now, I'm gonna see if I can show you something else as well, just to make it more interesting. There's Flight Radar 24. Let's quickly fire that one up.
Good morning.
Good morning, John.
Fell asleep.
Oh my goodness, serious?
Yeah, waiting for you. Fell asleep.
So, I'm sorry. Yeah, we were kept a bit busy there. Alright, so guys, this is the real world that we are looking at on Flight Radar 24. As you can see, and this is what I want you to pay attention to, this flight between Porto and Lisbon is being flown at flight level 210. That's the first thing I want you to note. The second thing I want you to note is this aircraft is not on any airways. This aircraft is flying literally off the coast. It's under radar control. It is following vectors and ATC instruction. All right. That is crucial for you guys to remember now in this stream. The way the guys fly it in the real world is under ATC and they're getting vectors and ATC instructions. Alright, so they're probably going to use a flight level change or a vertical speed or a combination with VNAV. They're going to fly differently than what we fly in the simulator. Alright, so keep that mental picture in mind. Remember the facts. Let me show you the next step then. When we open up, it doesn't matter if it's SimBrief or if it is PFPX or Little Nav Map or whatever tool we use to get a route in the simulator, we typically get something like this, because you can go on to any of these websites and somebody somewhere used his flight simulator skill to connect the dots. Alright, if we go to the high-end routes, you'll see we are actually using a standard instrument departure onto a point, onto an airway, and then we are using the standard terminal arrival to actually enter and get to the airport that we want to go to. So this is the flight simulator way of doing things. Now, if we were to fly on VATSIM, we're going to get a very similar situation, and I've flown this route plenty of times. It's even on my YouTube channel. You can go and watch some of it. At least one or two of them have been recorded where we've flown in this area under ATC control on VATSIM, and even they disregard portions of the SIDS and the stars and the airways, because if the flight sim ATC guys just sit there and allow you to fly the SID and the star and the route, they pretty much don't have a function. So they like to give you vectors and they like to give you instructions just to make it fun for them as well. I mean, that's the whole point of flying online. We all want to have fun. So just as much as we want to fly and have fun, the ATC want to have fun and enjoy what they're doing. So that brings us to the offline scenario. This is your typical offline scenario. It doesn't matter who you are as a flight simmer. You're going to either go to SimBrief, PFPX, whatever. Find a route and it's going to give you something similar to this. Now, just to bring that one onto the screen, let's see if we can put it this way. Just to show you the difference quickly again. Right, so that's real world and that's flight sim. Alright, these guys are instructed what to do and they follow the instruction. We are not instructed what to do, we make our own decisions, and this is typically what we get. So, here in lies the trick now. And again, not any of the other two 738s in the other platform does this. Zibo has introduced this now. He's going to look at the star, which we have there, and he's physically now looking at the restriction that we have there. All right. If you are going to fly at an altitude lower than what you have there, so in other words, let's recap. If you want to pretend to fly a real world flight, and that guy is flying flight level 210, and you now want to fly 210 on this route, you're breaking the rules. All right. You are not supposed to cruise on a flight level lower than the altitude restriction where the star entry point is. That restriction says we need to be below 290 at that point. By implication, if we need to be below 290 at that point, we have to be at or above 290 before reaching this point. And one of the arguments that my good friend Mario had was, but I am flying when I'm on 210, I'm definitely below 29, I'm definitely below 25, so he did not understand it. So it comes down to maths. And this is my own words. Please accept it as that. This is not Trickster's words. He gave me the rest. Some of it we still going to talk about, and we have discussed, is you cannot multiply with 0. 0 times anything is 0. So if you are flying below a certain value, you did not reach that value. So the little logic, the mathematics running, is not seeing a value. So it's effectively seeing 0. If you multiply something by 0, you get 0. And this is one of the reasons why the top of descent is not given to you in your Zibo mod anymore, because you never achieved that. You never achieved that. There's nothing to work with. All right. So when we look at the way it works in real world, I'm going to read to you what I was given. If you are using VNAV and cruise altitude is less than the first restriction on the airway, there will be no top of descent. Right, and from there, that's the official statement. From there on, I've given you now my interpretation of it. So, if you want to fly this route, you are bound to honor the restrictions. You have to. Otherwise, the Zibo will not respond the way you think it should. That's how easy it is. All right. That's the level of fidelity. It's the level of realism that's being brought to the simulation now. Now, to be devil's advocate, I took my PMDG, and I flew this route twice. You get exactly the same legs, and restrictions are shown. Everything is exactly the same between the two simulations, but the PMDG still gives you the top of descent. So you can now argue that's better for flight simmers, and you can argue this one's better for realism. I'm not going to get into that argument. It's not relevant. There's no right, there's no wrong. The difference that we are talking about here is the way Zibo implemented his code versus what the other guys did. They are right in their respect. Zibo is right in his respect. So please don't argue about who's right and wrong and who's more realistic or not. If you don't adhere to this, the Zibo is going to bite you. If you don't adhere to this, the PMDG will not bite you. That's the end of that story. All right, I hope you guys understand that. So this happened to me when we flew from Newark to Detroit in the US. There's a similar situation where the entry point, I think, was 25,000 or 26,000 actually, going into Detroit, and it screwed us because we did not have the knowledge to understand what was happening. And this is why I went back and I asked, pretty please give me an explanation and let me understand what's happening. And that is your answer. If you are using VNAV and the cruise altitude is less than the first restriction on the arrival, there will be no top of descent. All right, so I hope that gives you background information. Now, there are a couple of ways of getting past this restriction that is now part and parcel of the Zibo. Number one, you fly a different route. Okay, if you use there's another star. Let's quickly see if I can actually get that for you. Let's just change this. There was one. I think it's this one. Yeah. If you use this one, you can fly at 230 or below if you want to use a star. All right. We are not going to do that. We're going to stick to where we are. XAMAX 8. Okay. All right. So I have to fix that up quickly. All right. So it looks better. All right. But then there's another option. So the first option is you fly a different route. It could involve a star with a different height restriction, or if you fly a different route like the real world guys are flying, and you fly off coast there and you vector yourself, you're obviously going to be on your own, but you must then obviously disregard the star, and you're going to have to vector yourself all the way. So different route, it still means a different route. The second way of bypassing this is to actually go into your legs list and simply delete the restrictions. All right. You're going to, good morning, Kevin. By the way, sorry, I just saw you now. So on your legs list, you can use the delete button on your FMC, and you can click on the right hand line select key, on the FMC on the right hand side. Next to the height restriction, it will delete the height restriction, and it will then, once you click execute, it will calculate the best altitude and speed for that waypoint, disregarding any restrictions. All right, so those are the options. You either fly it right, you fly a different route, or you simply delete it. But these are things that Zibo pilots are now consciously going to have to think about to fly it correctly according to the Zibo mod. I hope that makes sense. So let's get this off the screen and let's get going. Guys, I hope the theory works as we go on. I'll obviously show you now practically, and I hope it's going to have some value for you. And like I said, please interrupt me and ask your questions and do the rest as we continue. So let's start from the beginning and open some doors. Right, I have a problem. I'm quickly going to restart my explain, guys. Sorry. My sound is coming through my headset. Good morning. I am Danny. What do you mean? Where are you? Are you asking me? I'm in Johannesburg, South Africa, if that's the answer you are looking for. We are going to fly from Porto to Lisbon is the other answer you might be looking for. If you can clarify that, I'll give you a better answer. Sorry for the interruption. I just have to quickly start up, explain with the correct audio configuration. Otherwise, I'm going to be deafened. Yeah, we're flying from Porto to Lisbon, Danny. LPPR to LPPT. Let me type that. While we're waiting, guys, I hope you have had a good week that's passed, and I hope you guys are looking at some resting over the weekend and maybe some flying and enjoying the Zibo, maybe. But whatever else you do, I hope you guys enjoy it. John,
Yes, sir.
are you still flying today?
Negative.
Okay.
No, I'm, I'm having a day off.
Okay, good. Guys, Uncle John eventually became captain for Virtual Ryanair during this week. He worked really, really hard. And I think he did it in like 3 or 4 weeks, eh?
I think it was about 4 weeks. The important thing to remember, guys, you've got to be very dedicated. I mean, I ended up doing 222 hours of flying in that time. And that takes either stupidity or commitment. I'm not quite sure which. But bottom line is, thank you for mentioning that, Nico.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate it. I'm very pleased with myself. Let's just say that.
Yeah. And guys, I'm really proud of Uncle John. You know what? A couple of weeks ago, we were talking, and a penny dropped somewhere, and he understood how to start the aircraft, from cold and dark, and how to just fly it, in a way that is obviously acceptable to the virtual airline, and it just took off from there. I'm really proud of you, Uncle John.
That was 5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Suddenly, as Nico's just said, the penny did drop. I did some research, and in fairness to Nico, he did give me that final hour or so to put a few things together. Bless him. And quite rightly, yes. Suddenly, the picture suddenly filled in. I could see everything and how everything worked, but a tremendous amount of research beforehand, tremendous amount of time spending reading documents, a lot of time watching a few videos, but it wasn't until that point that suddenly I knew what was going on in the aircraft. I knew which buttons I'd got to press, in what order I'd got to press them, and I'm eternally grateful.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It's always good to see somebody, get education and then go and practically implement it. And this is also what this stream is about. It's not a long flight. It's going to be shortish. But I want you guys to understand the little bit of a hurdle, the curveball that we've been dealt. So I hope this helps a lot of you.
I can't answer that question. Maybe Nico can. I do know with the system that with Ryanair, I can also go with some American airlines. Hopefully, my rank will stay with them because it's all part and parcel of their of their. Well, I'm not quite sure what to say.
Yeah, you don't keep your hours. You have to start from zero, and your ranking also starts from zero. You do get some credit depending. I'm actually writing it out on the new VA. It depends on who the guys are that you are moving to. What kind of credit they give you, whether they give you points or they give you hours or whatever. Some don't. Some don't even give you anything. You literally start from the beginning again. So unfortunately, that's how it is in the VA game, as far as I know.
While Nico's getting ready, just some other news. Some time ago, I spoke with Nico. I'm a lover of having some life about me. So I like X Life and I like live traffic. But going back to X Life, I pointed out to Nico, it's a little bit unrealistic the way, if anybody's got X Life, bit unrealistic how the aircraft was turning onto the runway and taking an immediate takeoff, and this really bugged me. And I wrote to the um, the writers. I forget now
Developers out art design.
Jar Design, correct? Thank you, Nico. And I wrote to them and said, this is a bit unrealistic. Surely you could put a variable in there. I don't know, 0 to 8 seconds or something like that. And when they turn on the runway, lo and behold, I actually loaded it up this morning, and guess what? They actually turn onto the runway now. Stop for about 2 seconds, and then you hear the engines fire up. What a difference! So if you use X Life, enjoy.
Excellent. That's good feedback. Thank you, John. That's interesting and good to know. Right, okay, so here we are again, and let's quickly see if we start getting some live here. If we, yeah, there we go. Now the speakers are correct.
It's a tried and trusted method of making sure all of your plugins are loaded correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nico.
Yeah, no, it is. Um, Crescendo, I've worked with the Zibo team and certain of the team members for a long time now. And in Explain 11.25 or 26, I can't remember the exact version. What happened was, uh, yeah, that's true. But let me give you the explanation. What happens is, or was true at that point in time, is at the point of 11.2526, whatever that version was, a lot of people have overloaded the Explain. Too much scenery, too many plugins. It was an absolute mess. I'm trying to think of good words instead of swearing, so sorry for that. It was a mess. So basically what happened was, if you understood what the Zibo mod was at that time, okay, the Zibo mod runs off Lua scripts, basically. And what happened was, having overloaded systems caused some of the Lua scripts not to run. It didn't initialize. And I've actually got video evidence of it. And I went to the team, and in particular to one guy, the actual test pilot of the team. And I said to him, what's this about? Because the first bit of evidence that came about is we never got the correct N1 during Toga. It just never gave us the correct N1 during Toga. It was a mess. And we had difficulty taking off, and we had all kinds of other errors. We would find sometimes that no, it's not important. There was a whole bunch, right? So on the Explain forum, there was a whole discussion around XP-UIPC causing it at the time, which then proved to be incorrect. The simple fact of the matter is that the Zibo, all the scripts didn't load. It just never started up. So if you didn't get the N1, you didn't get this, you didn't get that, and so on. But the N1 was the first indication that your Zibo didn't load properly. So in order to bypass that, the question was, how do we fix that? And the simple answer is, you let Explain load up first. Explain will include all the scenery, it will include all the plugins, it will include all the other scripts that's running, depending on what you have. Once Explain is stable, we then load the Zibo, because there's nothing that's going to compete with the loading times associated with the space and the memory and everything else, the resources required to load the Zibo properly. Now, we gave that to some real world pilots, because remember, half of the Zibo team are real world type rated pilots and instructors on this model. Okay. And from there on, it went to the other real world pilots that me and other guys have contact with. Some are Air Force guys, some are just normal operators. And we said to the real world guys, please go try this. And they came back and they said, yeah, no, this is true. So once everybody was in cahoots that this is actually how it is working better, we then made the announcement and said, guys, please load the 172 first. Okay, now Zibo is busy porting this aircraft onto C++. Hopefully, once that is done, we won't have to do it anymore. Okay, now I was not told when it was. Twixter said to me, when we go gold, that was his words. When we go gold, you won't have to do it anymore. So whatever that means, there will be a time when it's not necessary anymore. Now, for my own sanity, for the sake of the streams and for the sake of history, I still load the 172, because then I know for a fact that this aircraft is fully loaded, and there's not a single script that might not have loaded. So sorry for being long-winded, but that's the history. So that's where we're
And
at with
please,
that.
please remember that the Zibo is not an aircraft. It's a bolt-on. It's a
Yeah,
bolt-on from the default 737, and
yeah,
that's the reason why.
yeah. Another one of the reasons. So right, let's get going. It's a big pleasure. I've actually had a couple of guys fight with me because of that, and um, when was this? Last week Saturday. Um, Another developer of, I'm not going to tell you who it is, but a very well-known developer in the Explain community actually approached Zibo about me, spreading this lie, and it took 5 minutes to put him down. Um, because people get offended and angry when I say things like this, but it comes from the team, guys. It's not a Nico story; it's a team story. So that's why I made it long-winded. So anybody who watches the stream will actually understand if they are willing, where the whole story
Trust
comes
me,
from.
if Nico doesn't know the answer to anything, he will check, and check again, and
Well,
then
that's
he'll
the
give you
root
the
of this.
answer.
That's the root of this stream as well, because everybody now comes and asks me, why are we not getting TD? And I'm doing the support on this thing, and I mean, the most logical thing is I go back and I ask, the guys. I spoke to Jorge and I spoke to Tim, and both of them gave me the same answer. And I actually read it to you guys twice, so we're not going to go into that again. But this is the basis of it. When I'm sitting here, I'm not. It's not Nico alone speaking out of my own authority. There's clout behind it. So I hope you guys understand. Anyway, enough of that. Let's fly. Let's go get this thing going. Let me show you the next step. Um, I'm just opening up my little OFP here. Sorry for the dogs, guys.
That's the entertainment at the background.
Is it loud? Is it really a disturbance? Because then I need to
No,
go
it's
and...
fine, it's fine.
Okay. So then I need to make a plan with them.
They're Rottweilers, by the way, if anybody's thinking about it.
Yeah, they're little toy pom Rottweilers. Little cute guys. Payload, what payload? 17.6. Guys, while I'm thinking about it, I didn't mention that in my whole story before. If you are on a very short route or if you are overloaded, there are reasons why you're going to get unable cruise altitude, and there's a whole bunch of things, but that's not what we're talking about today, okay? So just bear that in mind. This isn't the end all and be all of the whole argument. This is just one of the next steps in the evolution of making a real Boeing that you guys just have to understand. Obviously, if you're on a very short route, you're going to get unable cruise altitude and you might have problems with TD as well. But and if you overload it, it makes it even worse. But for our purposes, we're talking about the height restrictions. So just please separate the two as well.
Run to cockpit. Plan acknowledged. Call me through the menu when you're ready.
Right, okay, so let's quickly run through this. Let's make sure all my levers are in place. John, I'm getting much better with using the tiller, by the way.
Excellent.
I'm still
I'm
practicing.
lost without it.
Yeah, I'm still practicing with this flipping thing. To have a lever on that one, on the throttle quadrant, is a challenge. Guys, if you ever want a challenge, go try that. Once you are used to using rudders or a twist grip to do your taxiing and you move to that thing, man, it's a challenge. All right, guys, here's another tip. If you read my checklists, you will see I've always mentioned this. If you guys are struggling with the jar design ground services, or even the Zibo GPU continuously disconnecting. It's very simple to understand. The parking brake isn't charged up yet. The hydraulics isn't fully functioning, and the only way to fix it is to switch on your electrical hydraulics. I've never had it. Once the hydraulics is up and the brakes are actually, pumped up to the full pressure, that those things disconnect. I found also that if I use runway follow terrain contour, it's more likely to need to use this work around the knot, because you obviously have an uneven surface, so you tend to either run forwards or backwards, or have issues. So this is why even myself, I've mentioned it in my checklist, I just switch those ones on out of normal sequence for the real world, but it's just to keep my parking brake charged so that I don't lose the equipment on the outside. So just bear that in mind as well.
Are we on 321 this morning, Nico?
Yes, we are. This will be my first flight in 321, so I freaking hope it works. That we don't get a
Well,
surprise
you're
down the
testing it then, because I haven't tried it yet.
line. Guys, any of you tried 321 already? Does it work? Johan,
Yes.
does 321 work?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, why are you so far away? Put your mic by your mouth.
He's a million miles away.
Sorry. My mic was swallowed away from my mouth.
Yeah,
That's
Bad
better
lad.
now.
much better. Oh, we can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, I can just add to that top of the scent argument you have, Nika.
Mm.
Very seldom in real life pilots use the VNAV descent. For various reasons, One of the reasons is, for passengers, sometimes the VNAV descent in the real plane is also a bit wacky, And
Well,
then you get sudden steep descent, and the passengers don't like that.
mm.
And with VNAV, with the vertical speed controller, they tend to use that more often.
Yeah, it all depends on the route. Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
if you fly from Auckland in New Zealand to Queenstown, that's exactly where you and I had this
Yes.
conversation before.
Yes.
I mean, those descents are steep if you use your VNAV. Okay. Um, but also, I mean, the guys in the real world, while I've been in the cockpit watching them, they've got different ways of doing it at different times, and it's all about practice, and it's all about so many different things. The thing, Johan, here in the simulator is just that I think over many years a lot of misconceptions have been brought into flight simulation, and the guys are not well taught like the real world guys, and it's now going to take a little bit of time to match up. Also, the typical flight simmer is going to use either VNAV or VS or flight level change or whatever he's going to use, because he's comfortable with it. So each to his own, my friend. I personally use VNAV. I've not got any problem with an ordinary route, something like the Queensland or Queenstown landing. That's a different story, but it depends on the route for me. Then I'll decide what I do. Okay, I'm going to import this route because it's just easier to show you guys now. I've obviously typed it incorrectly. LPPT01. Oh, my mistake. It's at the top. LPPT. Sorry, I'm talking too much. LPP or LPPT01. Can't be. Let's execute you. There we go. Right, so SKM810. Activate. then we're going to take our departure. 91 West off runway 35, and we're going to have the Zama 8A ILS03 and execute. Right, okay. So speaking of which, Johan, this is where a lot of flight simmers completely fall out of the bus. Not a lot of guys bother to check this page. They just think, ah, it's okay, we'll go. And this is exactly now where the changes is going to bite them. So first of all, what we do is we check the continuity and stuff of this route, right? So we're going to step through it just to see that we've got a proper route, right? And then we're going to find out, and if we don't check this, keep an eye on PESX. If we don't check this, we're going to have a funny here. There's PESX again. So we've got PESX CF03, and then all of a sudden PESX again. Do you know how many times guys have come onto the forum and onto Facebook and say, but I get to the runway or almost at the runway and this aircraft all of a sudden turns left or right? And this is typically one of the things. There's two reasons. This listen carefully, you as the pilot are instructing it to turn around and try again if you don't remove this problem. Alright, it's not a bug, it's not a Zibo thing, it's you need to remove it. Alright, so we need to decide, are we going to include CF3 or are we going to skip it? So you can either take CF3 and put that in the place of PESX, effectively getting rid of the first PESX and then just going down the line, or you could have selected PESX there, come back and actually cut out CF3. So from PESX you go directly to the runway. Alright, I think it's much of a muchness. We might as well do that. Alright, you're still going to have the same track. So if you start stepping through again, there won't be a discontinuity, but it's going to be a straight line onto the runway. So we're happy. So we took care of the double up. You can get that in the SID, you can get that in the STAR, and it's a question of, you're the pilot, you're in command, you need to look out for these things. But how many simmers do you know actually check this? Alright, so there's one good tip for you guys. Then if we go back to the legs list, to the beginning, the next thing that even me personally, up until I would say a week or two ago, did not bother about, because it was not necessary. The Zibo code did not care for this. Alright, now it does. So there's been a change, there's a different requirement, and this is the whole reason for the stream this morning and showing you guys this. If you look at your restrictions, you've got to be below 280 knots and you have got to be below 290 when the STAR starts. So let's go back. Where's this thing? Display capture. Right? So there's the chart again. When we get to XAMAX, we need to be below 280 and below 290. And that's exactly what the FMC is telling us. Now, you'll see that in the PMDG as well. I don't own the other one, iFly one, so I don't know if but I can virtually guarantee it's going to be the same. So it's there. The difference now comes in, this matters in the Zibo. It does not matter in PMDG. It matters in the Zibo. Alright, again, there's no right and wrong for the guys only joining the stream now. I'm not bashing the PMDG. They have their way of doing it. The Zibo's got his way of doing it. In the Zibo, this matters. Alright, so you've got one of two options right now at this very point. You can either make sure that you climb above 290, at or above. That's the buzzword, or the buzz sentence that you need to remember. At or above. Alright, you cannot have a cruise altitude lower than this. Now if this route was shorter and you could not climb to 290, you have a problem. Alright, then you're going to make another plan, and you're basically going to hit the delete button and you're going to delete it. The moment you press execute, it is going to automatically calculate the speed and the altitude at that waypoint. All right. Well, it's supposed to. Let's go back. Legs. Could be that we need to do the second one as well. So let's delete that one. I did that on Thursday network. So let's see. Oh, you know why I didn't execute? Sorry, my bad. I'm an idiot. I almost made a mistake. Almost feel embarrassed. The reason it's not calculating it is we have not set our cruise altitude yet. So keep an eye on that. Let's go do our cruise altitude then. Alright, so now we are going to fly a Ryanair cost index of 6. We are looking, where is that OFB? 2.6 will be the reserve. 0 fuel weight. Well, that's been established. Alright, so at this point in time, we can now go and decide. Let's make it 230 and execute it. Then go back to legs. FTM step. What am I missing here? One more. There we go. You see now at XAMAX, we are at flight level 23. And at FTM, we're going to be at 187. XAMAX 290. FTM 250. So we are below the restrictions. And you can argue that you're okay. Nobody's going to say you're not, because you're okay. You are below the restrictions. But you have to remember to delete those restrictions. Alright. That's the one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is, like I said, you simply climb sorry. You go 290 on your MCP, you climb and you fly at 290, and then you will get your top of descent. Guys, does that make sense? Does that help any of you? Does that ring a bell somewhere? Have some value for you guys? Just want to put the restrictions back to 80B. Well, Phil, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I also think it's very good to know. Okay, alright. 280B, and we want to be at 250. B. Now we get the cruise altitude error. So we need to go back. To 90. Come on. Yes, that's one of the problems that you have. The aircraft will not descend when you think it should descend because there's no calculation in effect, effective at that point in time telling it to descend. All right, and that's why the guys have started reporting that they had to use vertical speed, and that they had to use manual calculations to get the aircraft down, because effectively this whole FMC got confused. In actual fact, um, I'm not sure to what extent me fiddling with it has actually broken it. So I'm just going to start from the very beginning and make sure that we do it properly. So I know, and all the evidence, guys, is on my Twitch channel. You can go check the tests that I ran and all the flights that we did. It works. What I've just showed you works perfectly. The moment you delete those restrictions and you go fly, everything is perfect as normal. But you have to understand that those restrictions matter. It's not like any other simulation or any other 738 out there. They actually matter for the Zibo. Vince, good morning. Welcome to the stream. You press and hold the menu key for like 5 seconds and then it will reset to the beginning and then you can just start again. So I'm just going to quickly program this LPPR, LPPT.
Another very simple way of seeing if the top of descent is there is look at your progress page once you've got into cruise.
Yeah. There's many different ways of doing it. So no. It's a pleasure, Phil. Alright, so now we have our restrictions back in place, and because we are diligent flight simmers, we're going to climb to 290 and show you guys that it works. Just need to get rid of this PESX problem again. It's a bit of a pest, that one. PESX is a pest, John.
So I've noticed.
Right, okay, so there we go. That takes care of that for us. Initialization. Cost index will be 6. The reserves we said is 2.6. Why don't I just show you guys what I'm seeing on my side? Yeah.
That would be helpful.
Ooh, I'm ringing. Just give me a second.
The bells are ringing for me and my girl.
Right, I'm back. So let's quickly sort this display out. Right, so then we have 2.6 and we've got clear 2.1 in the plan, 0 fuel weights, all that goes inside, and then we're going to have 290 at 034. Guys, just to recap, anything with dotted lines is not required. It won't kill you unless you really do something silly. But I just like to fill this in to be thorough. That's just me. 290 at 034. 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 290 at 034 No right and wrong there, it's just me. Alright, so let's see, what are we talking about? 35 takeoff 2. And we want to climb as fast as possible. We don't want to waste time to climb. So that's perfect. Flaps 5 and CG. Right. Okay. I'm not going to bother with page 2 right now. We don't have any reason to go there. So let's start loading these poor packs. They're standing there waiting. Right.
Captain has time to fasten seatbelt. Time to direct that all passengers take your seat at this time and please fasten your seatbelt. Just as a reminder, we cannot leave the gate until carrying items are properly put away. All overhead bins are closed and all passengers are seated.
Almost had flight level 230 stuck in my head there.
Slide slow. Pull up.
Guys, the wheels on board.
Wind shear. Wind shear. Wind shear. Terrain. Terrain. Pull up. Obstacle. Obstacle. Pull up. Airspeed.
Chart's still there, Nico.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah. There you go. Sorry about that.
Still there, Nico.
No, no, no. I've taken it off. Give it 10 seconds. Is it off now for you?
Affirmative.
Yeah. Remember, there's a bit of delay between what I do and what you hear on Discord and what the
Pens
guys say.
together.
What is
Bit juddery again as well this morning.
Oh no, hang on, hang on, hang on. That's the display capture. Should be gone now. Haha, sorry. That's when I put the charts and stuff on the screen. I have to use the display capture differently, so. It was a bit fast. Righto, just to recap on one or two other things, guys. If LNAV and VNAV does not activate, go into that standby mode with the light on, please check your flight director for the FO side and just check that you've executed all the pages in your FMC, because the only reason it should not work properly on LNAV is when you have a heading select a vectored departure. So please be aware of that. Phil, if you're still getting it right now, then it's something on the stream that's beyond me. I just know that when I have my display capture on or off, on it gets jittery, off it doesn't, for me at least, and on my broadcasting software. So apologies for that. That means if it's still doing it at this point in time, we're talking about an Amazon problem. Then one of the Amazon servers are not playing ball with us. So let's welcome these folks and start closing up.
We're wrapping up the final paperwork here to get you on your way momentarily. I want to thank you so much for your company and
Thank you, Phil. There is a limitation in the Streamlabs OBS, that you have to have graphics acceleration off in your applications, otherwise it does not capture them properly. And now I'm talking about the browsers and also the Navigraph stuff. Unfortunately, like in Opera browser, you can switch it off, but you cannot switch it off in the desktop charts at all. The Adobe doesn't have it, so it's irrelevant. And so when I have to show you charts or anything with this Navigraph charts now, I have to use the silly desktop capture. I think the key thing is you guys must just, let me know if you see a problem, and then we address it as it happens.
I'm allowed to fly my schematics now.
Of course, because you are now Captain Reynolds.
Ground to cockpit. Stow is driving up.
Thank you so much.
Flight attendants prepare for departure, cross check and all call, thank you.
Alright, we've got everyone strapped in. Give us a ring if you need anything.
Thank you. Right, guys, I'm ready to fly. I hope you guys are ready. Let's go do this.
Okay, all doors and hatches are closed. Ready to connect.
Ooh, guys, I forgot one silly little thing, which is kind of important.
Pushback.
No, it's not that. I never started my active sky. I'm not even going to try and do it now. If this thing crashes my X-plane now, I'm going to be very furious. So guys, we're going to fly on standard pressure. If you guys are wondering, I forgot to start the active sky.
Release parking brake.
It's going to be a smooth trip then.
Yeah.
You mess up the landing on smooth weather and there'll be hell to play.
Well, yeah. I'm only human. By the way, guys, while I was flying P3D and I was reliving all the good old days and so on, because I hardly fly it anymore, I actually found a PTA preset from R&D that gave me a very similar look to what I have here in this preset from X-Vision. I'm using the Vivid preset in X-Vision. And I was so freaking impressed with myself when I found that thing, because it looked so washed out. It was not really nice to look at, but man, that R&D preset for PTA made a big difference.
Later I shall check out to see if that problem's been resolved with, if you don't use pushback, whether I can still move or not.
Yeah, it should be resolved. Otherwise, we need to look at the add-on scenery.
By
Right,
the way, I
okay.
sent you an email.
I got it. I saved that file, but I've not had a chance to actually do anything about it yet.
Okay, Nico. Apologies.
Don't you have X-Organizer, John?
Connecting stow. Stand
I
by.
do, but I don't know how to use it in all honesty.
Okay, but then we must actually teach you how to use it, because that's your answer. Might be quicker than for me to try and read it and fix it, just to log into your system later and just fix it. We'll talk about it afterwards.
Okay, but thanks.
Alright, so let's pull this lever now. 1, 2, 3.
Don't you love the Zibo?
Oh yeah, I love my Zibo.
Get in the queue.
Sorry, you were a bit soft and the guy was talking.
So get in the queue.
Clicked the wrong button. Right, let's go. So this airport, Porto, this one, is not the exact same one that I dropped into the description of the video, that link. What happened was I spoke to a new member of the Zibo pilots group, and he actually gave me this copy, and he said to me that he's enhanced it with the permission of the original author. And I was just looking around here, and I actually noticed quite a few differences that looks kind of very nice. So I will be thanking him later on, and then hearing where we can maybe get a link to it, you know, an official link to maybe share with you guys. But this is a slightly more improved one than the one I dropped for you, if you guys were wondering.
That would be nice if it's possible.
Yeah. I'm not sure if this guy is also a real world 73 pilot. I did not actually ask him. He talked about a whole bunch of things. And he also said he wants to get involved with the training on the Zibo side. So we'll see what happens there.
I did a bit of a count up on members this morning. We're getting close to the 100.
Yeah.
94, I think, something like that.
We're 98. Yep, we're 98 right now. And so many of those guys are real world pilots now. It's getting exciting. Right, transponder on. We don't need the weather and the terrain. I'm going to skip that. There's nothing to report. All of that's on. That's a go. Let's call the people. Let's go. How was that taxi? That was almost on the line. I'm getting good with this tiller.
Okay, stop showing off.
I want to rub it in. It's like that Zibo mug and shirt that you're rubbing in.
Guess what? The t-shirt's on.
And you're probably drinking from the Zibo mug. You bugger.
Of course.
Yeah, I can't wait for mine to come.
I'm
Guys,
almost tempted to put my Ray-Bans on as well.
well, like you did yesterday. Yeah.
You like that touch, do you?
Yeah. Guys, the shop's almost ready to open, so we did some pre-ordering and stuff, and I was told my stuff is on the way. Uncle John already got some of his merchandise, so the shop's almost open, and then we'll let you guys have a go at that to get some Zibo merchandise.
It's good gear. It really is good gear.
Good,
I'm well impressed.
I'm happy. It's good to know that it's good quality, because that was one of our concerns, right? So I think I'm facing forward. This thing seems to be aligned. The nose is straight, so let's give it a bash.
No tail drag.
Yeah, I'm gonna do my best. Don't worry. Get up. Johan, are you still here? I don't have my Discord on screen. I can't see who's here or not. No, he left.
Who are you calling?
Johan. Johan is the Afrikaans for John, by the way, if you were wondering. So you guys have
Yeah,
the same
that's
name.
why I questioned it, whether it was
Yeah,
just your South African
yeah,
accent.
yeah.
Not your fault.
I didn't tell you this, but my second name is also Johannes, which is Johan, which is John. So my second name's the same.
I'm the poor relative. I've only got one Christian name.
You remind me of when I was small. My brother's name is Francois, so it's a long name. If you have to write it out, it's got a lot of letters. And I was one day bitterly complaining to my mother, and I was crying, obviously being small and ignorant, not knowing better. And I said to her, "Why did you give my brother a longer name than me?" You know, I was feeling quite sad about that fact. And she showed me my full name. And I go, "Okay, I win, I win."
Big smile all over your face.
Yeah. Amazing what stupid kids can
Oh, of
cry
course,
about.
of course. Especially if they think they've been robbed.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I didn't get a long name. Right, we are up and everything's looking very good.
Don't forget you've got a little job to do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're gonna do that now. In actual fact, let's preempt all of this stuff quickly so I can help mother-in-law quickly with her request. Let's see this. Let's grab that one. Okay.
Look in the files section. The links are all there.
Vince, yeah, it's well, it depends on you referring to Facebook, but it's in the Google Drive, my friend. So if you just go into the Google Drive, if you sort it into the file listing, you should see it at the bottom. Let's quickly get it on screen here. Let's quickly have a look. See. Ah, let's grab this display capture again. So that's my Google Drive. That's my shared folder with the Zibo mod. So this is what you guys get when you follow the link as well. And if you go to the very bottom, there you go. That's 21 over there. Hope that helps. So RC3, that's the full package. You load that one first, and then there's your latest fix.
Whilst we're climbing, I'm going to get another coffee in my Zibo mod. It's only a 737 thing.
That's fine. I am gonna quickly do a max rate climb here, so we've got a little bit of a cruise. Check it, this baby climb now. Check that rate. It wasn't as didn't go to 5,000. Damn, not as much as I expected, but anyway, gonna climb a little bit faster. Right, and there we have our top of a descent. You can clearly see it's there, and if we go to our progress page, it will show up there as well shortly, so everything is cool. And that is how you bypass the restrictions of the star and actually get a working top of climb. Ah, sorry, top of descent. What am I talking? I'm looking at top of climb. Then I'm saying top of climb. Good morning, Norman. Norman, that's what this whole stream was about, my friend. It's a whole long story that you're going to have to watch. I'll give you a recap in a second. I'm just concentrating on some electronic banking stuff quickly.
Replenished.
Can I share your...
Of course, I know what you're going to ask me.
I'm just waiting for Escobar to keep quiet now. This woman's calling Escobar. Can I share your picture so the guys can see?
I've just said, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to finish this job for my mother-in-law quickly with the electronic banking.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, I just need to authorize this thing quickly. My bank has just SMS'd me. This is a suspicious request. They don't want me to give money to my mother-in-law.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, it's done. It's done.
Morning, Norman. Sadly, you missed the conversation top of descent. However, I'm sure you can watch the video
Yeah,
later and all will be explained.
yeah, I told him, but I'll give everybody a recap. I'm constantly looking at the amount of viewers. It has gone up and it's gone down, and the guys come in and out. So we'll give them a recap one more time. This bank is funny. Look, I can tell you one thing. It's lovely to see they've got your back. I mean, they're really trying hard to make it obvious that they are not happy with this transaction, and you really, really have to be sure that you want to approve it. They actually sent me a fraud report just now asking me to say if it's fraud or not.
Send a code, four-figure code.
Oh, I've had to confirm, send codes, do a whole bunch of things now just to get my mom-in-law on my recipient list. This is funny. I'm gonna tell her she's suspicious. Anyway, okay, coming back to reality. Normand, as you can see, we've got top of climb and we've got the top of climb and we've got the top of descent now. All right. What happens is in the leg list, look quickly, it says there 280B, so you need to be below that, and 290B, you need to be below that. We've got it at XAMAX and FTM, we've got a 250 below. Those are restrictions on the STAR. The way the Zibo works, and this is obviously a new thing from Zibo, bringing it more in line with the reality of the real aircraft. That is very important for the calculations of your top of descent. If you fly at an altitude lower than the restriction of the STAR, where the STAR starts, you won't get top of descent. So you either have to remove the restriction or you have to fly at or above that altitude. Now, as you can see, we are climbing to 290. The fact that we now have a valid value in the mathematical equation allows the equation to happen, and there you go, there's top of descent. So if you fly at flight level 210, 230, whatever, that's lower than that value, no top of descent, my friend. It will not happen. So this was the big learning curve that we had to go through tomorrow. The Zibo is currently the only 738 in any simulation that I know of, any commercial consumers version of a simulator that actually looks at the restrictions and enforces them. And I mean, if you grew up with any of the other models, PMDG or iFly, this has never been an issue. And so you will not be used to this. This is why everybody's now being caught for a sucker, basically, because we didn't realize it's going to go and evolve into this kind of fidelity, you know. So that's it.
It's getting as real as it gets.
Yes. So yeah, while we are there, we might as well quickly set up for the landing. Yes, Norman, exactly.
Photo.
Yeah, I'll get you the photo just now, John. Just quickly setting up for the descent. I'm just going to do the bare minimum. As you guys can see, we've got literally like, I think 3, 4, 5 minutes between the two. So I just want to quickly set that all up and make sure we've got the correct ILS details and everything in place quickly.
That's another good little tip that you gave me, Nico, that's worth mentioning.
What? Which one?
Your descent speed.
What is in speed?
Double click on your descent.
Oh, you mean here in the yeah. If you set up your flap speed, instead of typing it out, you just double click on that key or that key, depending on flaps 30 or 40 or 15, you know. So yeah.
You need to show them where.
Yeah, I just did. You'll see it on stream just now.
Excellent little tip, that.
Okay, I don't have the correct chart in front of me, so I'm going to use the Cat 3 minimums. Sorry about that. It just happens right when we're on standard atmosphere. Okay, go pee quickly. Sorry, too late. I can't believe I never started my active sky. Can you believe it?
Well, it shows the scenery off.
I'm wondering, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm wondering if this thing isn't reading from a previous METAR. Let's actually quickly look and see, because it might be that they are weather, it's just not updated. LPPP. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. It's reading from a previous file. I'm glad I actually thought about that. 1.6. So it's not really calm, Uncle John. We've got the wind of 300 at 9 knots.
You jammy devil.
Yeah. What happens when you actually wake up in the morning? You start thinking about other stuff than just the obvious.
You know, it's so nice to understand what you're doing
Mm,
and know that, yeah, I've done that 1,000 times now.
yeah. Oh, I need to pull back on my levers. Almost forgot about that again. Hello, Ferry. Good morning or afternoon to you too. Welcome to
Afternoon,
the
Ferry.
stream. Right, just a quick note, guys. Because of this route and the way this route works, we actually have two top-off descents. And it actually gets worked out very properly and precisely by doing this legs list and the MCP side of things properly. So there you can see we've got another top-off descent. So if we go back and we look at that restriction, we needed to be at 290 or below. Look what the aircraft did. It took us 240 foot below the restriction to make sure that we are below it, but it's holding because we're not ready to actually descend properly already. So just another testimony of how accurate the VNAV in the Zibo is actually now working, and why it's imperative that everybody, including me, gets our education as to how it works in the real world, and we actually step away from our previous experience with other simulators and other models and not get confused by the implementation of the rules by Zibo. So there you go. There it's looking for the descent, the second top of descent already. I think
Nico,
this is so cool. Sorry, John.
you washed over the throttle. Explain the reason for the pulling back on the throttle and what you're going to do in a bit.
All right. Okay. Another thing that we get a lot in the support side of things is people complain about VNAV not working, and 9 out of 10 times in the recent weeks, what basically happens is the physical throttle on your desk, your hardware throttle, actually interferes with this one in the plane. So the theory and the practicality about it is, before you reach top of descent, you need to pull back and put it into idle mode. Now we can see that when we look at those little blue triangles. The blue triangles is where my physical hardware is. All right. And you can see we are completely in idle mode in the descent now in the Zibo. So there's no interference of hardware on the path. And if you follow that diamond over there and that little diamond over there, you will see that we're going to hold the VNAV much, much better than what the people are complaining. And that, again, is just part of education. You need to understand that your hardware should not interfere with the system, and you pull back to idle on your lever. That's all. Then it runs
And then
perfect.
and then once you set up on your flaps and your final approach, show them what you do with your throttle setting.
Yeah, we'll show them how to match the blue triangle with the line. It should be around about 60%, around about there. So what we then do is we just push our hardware throttles forward to actually match the Zibo, so that when we get to 1,000 foot or wherever you disconnect your auto throttle, that we have full command and full control over the throttle in the Zibo, and that it doesn't fall out the sky or accelerate unexpectedly.
This is important. This will catch you out if you don't do it right.
Yeah. Woohoo, look at this. I was hoping this was going to happen so I could show you again. Look how cool this is. Now we've got a third top-off descent. Because again, we needed to be 250 or below. So before we reached our waypoint, the Zibo took us down again 240 foot below 250. And because we're not ready for the complete descent, we are actually getting another top-off descent. So in this particular flight, and this, guys, is why I use the LPPT, LPPR, the PPT flight as my Zibo test flight, because you literally get almost every freaking possible curveball thrown at you.
Permutation, yeah.
I mean, this is one of the best routes ever to do a test flight in the Zibo to see if it actually works and if it's a Zibo problem or if it's a bug. I cannot tell you how many times I've flown this thing to try and work those things out, and this is just marvelous. I mean, look at that. Look at that. It is perfect.
What really gets my back up is when somebody comes up with a problem and says, "Oh, it's got to be a bug." My answer to that is, how many other thousands of people have you heard reporting the same problem? None.
Yeah, we were sitting talking about it. There are a few bugs still. We know about a few bugs, and then we also know about a lot of features that still need to come into play, right? But the actual bugs reported by people right now is very, very low. The number is very low because it is 90% user error, not understanding, not using properly, and that's where the education again comes in. And I've said it many times to the guys, I'll make as many videos as I can, but I first go and do my research and speak to them and get, you know, the real story behind the story, because I don't want to be that guy who sells rubbish to someone else. I don't want to spread a lie.
And don't forget, Nico also updates his installation document to be accurate with how the Zibo is running.
Fortunately, that only updates, you know, after every major full update. So guys, if you are new on the stream and you haven't said hello, please do so. Introduce yourself, and also take note in the show more stream description below the stream. There is a link to my private hangar / OneDrive. If you guys are looking for some goodies, nice to have, free stuff, go have a look there. There's a couple of things you might find interesting and useful. Check my speed, John. You were complaining yesterday about the speed dropping and rising.
No. It's the physical movement of the throttle.
Is it the physical movement of the throttle? Okay, but if it's stable on the PFD, the
stable
throttle
there, it's fine. Yeah, but
yeah, let's
but now I'm getting the up and down on the descent. Sorry, more so when it levels off.
Is it okay?
Once it's leveled off,
yeah, you shouldn't have that.
20 miles an hour.
You shouldn't have that. Norman, I think a lot of flight simmers have been brainwashed to think that the other models that they grew up with, so to speak, are the be-all and end-all of how a 738 works. There are a lot of merit in the fact that the PMDG systems are still more advanced than the Zibo, but in this instance, what we are talking about here, the Zibo is more advanced. And now the Zibo pilots are being caught out and, you know, being surprised when a thing like this happens. And you were not on the stream earlier, so I'm going to say it again. I have flown this route twice now with the PMDG in the last 2 days, and it does not use the restrictions as the Zibo does. I mean, this is a first for Zibo. This is something new that the Zibo pilots really, really need to take notice of, because it's going to bite you at some point in time, and if you don't understand why, you are going to think it's a bug because of previous experience, and it's not. This is how it is. After flying this route twice with the PMDG, I actually did a 3-hour flight with the almost 3-hour flight with the PMDG for Ryanair as well. I just couldn't leave it. It was so nice to just be back in the seat. But it was a story going back and getting used to that one again. It's so different that. But while I was in it, I just enjoyed it. It was nice.
I wish you wouldn't keep saying that word.
Hello, Ryan. Thank you, Norman. Thanks for that comment. So I'm keeping this view on the screen for a couple of reasons. We obviously checking the VNAV path. We are obviously checking the speed, and we are having a look at our throttles and the position they are in and the movements that they make.
It's when you level off for any length of time that I have the problem.
Yeah.
The
Look,
throttles seem to boost up quite a lot, and
Yeah.
then they drop back to idle again, and then they boost up again, and there's a big variation of about 20 mile an hour, and that's not real.
No, that's not right. I think that's a problem on your system, John. I can't say that I have seen that before, honestly. Next time I fly, I will obviously pay attention to that. I was actually under the impression that it's in this descent position that you were having the problem.
Negative. It's in the level. It's in the level mode.
Okay, cool. I did not understand it correctly then. Apologies.
No, my apologies. I explained it incorrectly.
My XP realistic and the head movement changes that view automatically, guys, so I'll just try keep up with it as I see it changes.
A perfect example to explain it better, Nico, would be, when your height is maybe 3,000, just for argument's sake, 3,000, while you're waiting for the intercept on the glide slope. And while it's waiting to intercept, that's where the throttles are going up and down like a yo-yo.
Okay, we'll check when we get there later. I have noticed that also before. At that point, yes, now that you mention it. But again, this brings us back to the whole work in progress story. I mean, Zibo cannot fix all the issues in one day.
I'm not knocking it. I'm
No.
just trying to point out the problem I've got.
Yeah.
And wondering why.
Yeah, I got it. But what I'm saying is, if we look at this phase of flight right now, where we are at now, look how stable it is. I recall a couple of months ago that same yo-yo effect happening here, and people were bitterly complaining. And look how nicely he's fixed it up.
Yeah,
so what I'm saying is,
noticed on the descent, it's brilliant.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, watch this space. It's a work in progress. It will get sorted. So yeah, it's just one of those things. I'll keep an eye out on, out for it just now when we get there, because I know in approximately that place where the mouse is now, somewhere there, that's around about where I usually put out flaps 1 to keep the speed in check. Okay, that's usually where I see that problem you just mentioned. So when we get there, we'll have a look.
Thank you.
Guys, while I'm also thinking of it, if you watch the real world guys on Flight Radar 24, as we already said, they don't fly the same route that we do. They are under a radar control, and they obviously get vectors and all the other information from radar control, so from ATC. One of the things that I did notice from them is they obviously fly at flight level 210, not 290 like we did now. And they literally, and I'm not kidding you, can watch it on Flight Radar 24, they start their descent approximately where I am now. They only start descending from 210 where I am now. And then they go do the whole vectoring and then come back. They actually have a bit of an extended downwind and then they come back for the landing. But they almost where I'm now. Might be 2 minutes ago, but it's almost in this area. Just before the actual airport. That's where they start their descent only. And I mean, look where we are already. It's a totally different ball game reality versus simming. So
Go back to the throttle again, Nico.
yeah, no, I've noticed. We were speaking so highly of it, and then it started that yo-yo effect. John, that's not something I'm worried about. I mean, the thing works.
No. I'm not worried about it, but all I'm saying is that is not realistic.
Yeah, to an extent, you get it, but yeah, it maybe drop a little bit too far. Ferry, exactly. That was one of the comments I made earlier in my stream as well. I've flown this route with VATSIM ATC and Iveo ATC. And they obviously don't want to sit around and just look at you. So they all give you vectors and all kinds of instructions, you know. So you typically also don't fly according to the normal flight simulator rules that we do when we fly offline. Another thing, John, just to mention this, if you don't know, when your PFD goes into that ARM mode, you are actually responsible for your throttle. To be quite honest, okay, it's up to you when it's in ARM mode to put it in the right place. Once it goes green and the actual FMC logic takes over again, that's when the aircraft is in control. And what typically happens is now it goes too slow and the logic sees it and it kicks in, and that's why it brings it forward, because you didn't do your job. That's brutally honest, okay. But again, you know, it's now a question of how many flight simmers have been taught that, how many flight simmers know about that.
My understanding was that the auto throttle works in conjunction with the PT, and it knows the speed and adjusts accordingly.
Exactly, but that argument doesn't take into account when it goes into the ARM mode. At this point in time, when this throttle is in the ARM mode, it's in idle because it's expecting you to handle it.
I'm
You
with
as the
you,
pilot.
Norman. I think it is overcorrecting.
Yeah. It is overcorrecting to a certain level, and it's undercorrecting to a certain level, that's for sure. But while it's in ARM, you are the pilot in control. You have to do this. You see, that's me moving it because the aircraft is literally just on the glide path. It's just going down. So if you have a problem with the speed, you have to correct it. That arm word there tells you you have to do something. So you've got two choices. You either do nothing and let the logic kick in, or you do something and you'll see the logic does not have to kick in. See? If I keep my throttles now semi-realistically close enough to that, you will not see that yo-yo effect, because the aircraft effectively is sitting there with a big question mark saying, hey dude, when are you doing something? You see now, and it actually overrode my command. I had it still forward and it then overrode it completely. So now can actually just move it a little bit forward as well. Again, I'm just going to quickly zoom in here just to put you guys in the loop again. Remember those little triangles? You can activate them on the Zibo tablet to see them. That is your physical hardware throttle. All right. As I move them, you can see it moves. All right. So depending on where they are, the logic in the FMC will override you. Like now, you see, look, I'm still in the front, my physical throttle is still there, but the Zibo sees that we're going to overspeed now, so it overrides me. You see, and now what happens is the moment it goes back to arm, look, it comes back to where my throttle is. And this is one of the things that we continuously get into in the support area in Zibo. The guys are complaining, oh, VNAV doesn't work, VNAV doesn't work. But it's because their flippin' hardware is interfering with the logic. And this is why, as a standard procedure, when I'm before top of descent, I pull back. I let my hardware throttles go into idle, and then I let the logic actually run it further, and then the VNAV works like we've just seen. It really works very well. So, right, I'm
I do
gonna.
it slightly differently.
Mm,
In the ones I've took off and I've retracted, flaps are in, and I'm on the climb. Then I pull the throttles back, and the engines go to idle, and then the auto throttle takes over again, and goes back to where it should be.
my friend, it's perfect. I there's no right and wrong, like I've said many times in this video pertaining to certain things. Obviously, it's not a blanket cover, but if you pull it back in that stage of flight, I don't mind. Just don't
I've
pull it
got
back while
stable
you're on the
speed. I've
runway
got
and in
stable
toga mode.
speed at that point.
Sorry, John, say again.
I always make sure I've got a stable speed. In other words,
Yeah.
I'm at least 250 knots.
Mm. Ah, yeah, that's a good one. Okay, so this is the point I was pointing out with the mouse, and we didn't have a major setup again in this point. We were obviously fiddling and interfering with that logic. So let's get our V-lock on and pull our first flap. Oops, that's the wrong way of doing it. I need to pull the lever. Alright, okay, so now the glide slope is also active, so we can go to approach mode. Looking good. Norman, I used to do that too, but what I get lately is my auto throttle disconnects when I do that. Even on the PMDG, it did that. The moment I pull back my throttles, and that must obviously be a hardware issue on my CH throttle. I'm not sure, but I think it is. It kicks the auto throttle switch off, and then while I'm still gunning down the runway, I've all of a sudden gotten a slight emergency to attend to. So that's why I don't do it. At that stage of flight, I let the aircraft climb. Once I'm in cruise mode, and very definitely before descent, I actually pull back my throttles so that I know that I'm not interfering with the Zibo logic there. Right, we'll arm our speed brake and we'll go to auto brake 2. Right, now we are at 4,000 and the ILS will override us. Our go around altitude is 070 on this chart because we're using the CAT3 chart. I'm not going to go look for the normal one. I think the normal go around altitude at this airport is 4,000 anyway. Right, so at 7 miles, I'm going to go flaps 5. And at 5 miles, I'm going to go flaps 15 geared down. That's the plan. See if that works.
The other problems that the guys have had, and I've had a couple of incidences myself until I spoke to you about it, was incorrect bringing in your flaps at the wrong speeds.
2500.
Flap speed are important. So many guys lose their flaps because of explainer removing the control surfaces error. Or not, how do we put it? It's a failure. It's a user-based, user-induced failure. Um, if you look at your PFD, it gives you indications of where your flaps should be. So I'm at flaps 5. It tells me that's 1 and up. So that region over there, that's for flaps 1. The region between 5 and 1, that's for flaps 5. And that is my approach marker over there. So, I mean, it's easy enough to just keep your eye on your PFD and it will tell you where to go and what to do. So right now we're going to go gear down. We let the gear go down first so we've got drag and that we don't overspeed and rip the flaps off. So once the gear is down, we can then go to flaps 15 and we need to drop our speed, obviously. I'm going to actually go down to our VREF plus 5. So, and there you can see the aircraft is actually now slowing down properly. There's no such thing as this aircraft being too slippery to slow down. If you actually follow the rules, it really works very well. Alright, so there's 1000. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to match my little triangles with my power. And I'm going to drop the auto throttle. So from here on, the throttle is my concern.
Approaching 03.
I'm obviously having to put more throttle in so we don't go below our reference. Alright, and it's a matter of just very small movements. You know, you don't want to increase too much and you really don't want to lose too much. So, alright, let's disconnect our autopilot. That was at 500. I clicked and missed. There we go.
300. 200. Approaching.
You're not adding more flaps.
100.
Thank you, Uncle John. I'm concentrating on too many things now, talking to you guys as well, so apologies for that.
10.
I'm floating, but we made it. Ferry, no, that was a mistake. That's what Uncle John was reminding me about. Because I was concentrating on telling you all the stories, I never pulled the lever. It was supposed to be a flaps 30 landing. My mistake.
Yeah, but there's two people in the cockpit, not one, and
yeah,
instructors at the same time. Forgive me. Yeah, you're just coming faster at flaps 15.
Exactly. Yeah, in Johannesburg, the guys land and operate flaps 15 many times because of the density altitude. You know, it's not unheard of. The Boeing is very capable of landing flaps 15. I eventually did it on flaps 20.
You're
But
just coming faster, that's all.
Yeah, that's all. But that was a genuine mistake. Just that's not normal procedure.
Forgiven.
Thank you so much.
Don't forget that photo for the
No, I'll put
guys
it up
before
now.
they disappear.
Okay, so I'm going to park over here and I'm just going to put our parking brake on because now there's a couple of things we want to do.
My Zibo mug's empty again.
Right, gentlemen and ladies, if there are any, damn it. No, it's not pasting. Let me take the screenshot again. Upload.
Apologies, it's slightly out of focus.
Yeah, no worries. All right. This is Uncle John with his Zibo gear as the first recipient of them. So, have a look-see. You know who I'm missing this morning?
Who?
Paul.
Oh, God. No, don't mention Paul.
I
He
already
puts the
landed.
kibosh on everything.
Yeah, no, I already landed. It's a question of, I just realized.
Of course, the coffee tastes better. Again, apologies for slightly out of focus. I ought to do a better one. I'm left-handed, and that's my excuse, as you notice with the mug. And I had to hold the iPad in the right hand, and the lighting wasn't overly good either. The subject was even worse. Oh, it's coffee. Trust me, it's coffee.
I was waiting for that moment. I was waiting. That was actually a beautiful landing. Apart from the fact that I floated a bit, it was actually a very, very beautiful landing.
I'll mark you later after the stream.
Okay.
Sorry, Nico, for disappearing.
No worries. I see you got some people visiting you, so that's fine.
Oh, so you got an itch. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Oh, you already landed. Good. How did it went?
Very well. I landed with flaps 20, believe it or not. Uncle John reminded me, and then Ferry reminded me. I was talking about the flap speed and showing the ticker tape on the left side of the PFD.
Yeah, I'm watching you on YouTube. Landing was very well. You mentioned about that throttle is going up and down, and then you mentioned also that the pilots are responsible for the throttle. You know, if you look in real life pilots, videos, their hands are always on the throttle. They're always pushing the throttle up and down.
Of course,
even if it's
of
not the
course.
throttle mode.
As they are on takeoff.
Yeah, it happens. It happens more than just on takeoff. But there are certain crucial phases of flight where you can't have your hands not on it. You know, they don't nurse it on a 20-hour flight. You know, that's impossible to nurse it the whole time. But all within reason, and at the time of talking about, there's a specific thing that happened at a specific time. So it's just part of the learning curve. We'll have
Take
to.
off and landing, you always have your hands on the throttle.
Of course.
Always.
Of course. Oh, that was lovely. Either which way you look at it, that was lovely.
I'll mark you later.
You always give me a 9. You never give a 10. You know that.
Never give you a 10.
I know. You don't want it to go to my head.
One day, Nico, you just keep hoping. One day I might do it.
Okay. That's the wrong switch. Well, guys, welcome to Lisbon, and thank you for flying with SkyMatic this morning. And I hope it was educational, that you learned something, maybe more than one thing, and that we'll see you guys again. If everything goes well, there's going to be an American stream later on this evening. If it doesn't go well, I might be, doing something else with the family, and then they come first, so then we won't see each other. But if it happens, we'll see you then. Otherwise, enjoy your weekend, and we'll see each other when we see each other again. If you're looking for me on weekdays, I'm more than likely on Twitch, so you're welcome to join me there as well. For the rest, you can send me notes. Facebook is probably the best place to get hold of me. And guys, if any of you are not members of the Zibo Pilots group on Facebook, you're welcome to join us. The link is also below the video. But just please take note, we do not do support there. The members of the Zibo development team that are in there, as well as the other 98 members, including myself, we just want to have fun with the Zibo. We really don't want to do support there other than flight training and flight training support. That is obviously very welcome, because that's the purpose of the group. So if you want to join us, feel free.
There's basic rules. Obviously, there's respect, and you give respect and receive respect.
Exactly.
No fraternities. No language whatsoever.
Yeah. Mark, thank you so much, my friend. It's awesome to have you guys here. If you guys were not here, I wouldn't do it. So thank you so much for the support. And Norman, thanks for your support as well. I'm gunning down this taxiway because I'm in a hurry a little bit. Sorry about the speed, but anyway, at least my skills are improving with this tiller. Man, it's a challenge, guys. If you got a spare lever on your throttle, put up this tiller. It's a
life changer.
Yes, it's a challenge to get used to. But I'm not doing too badly now anymore. You know what? This is so late stage. We might as well just use the ground power. Don't even need the IPU again. Guys, somebody asked me yesterday about the turnaround and what configuration to put the aircraft in if you're just going to do a turnaround. If you guys have not seen it yet, there is a little checklist here on the dashboard, and you've got a full shutdown checklist, and then you've got the transit shutdown checklist. Just use the transit side. This will put it into the turnaround mode. I'm not going to take a chance and just do a turnaround. I know a lot of guys do it. Some are successful, some are not. For the reasons mentioned earlier, and scripts not loading properly, etc., etc., I prefer to just shut down the X-plane and start it back up and do the next flight. But that's, again, just me. If you guys want to do it otherwise, you are more than welcome. So, Ferry, Mark, Norman, Phil, Vince, I'm just reading through the names here. Crescendo, whoever else. I'm Danny, John, Kevin, Johan, Liam. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. It was awesome. I will check you guys later again. Bye for now.
Bye.